Hey everybody, it's Peter, and this is the 2024 Kawasaki Versys 650 LT. Now this bike does not have the bags on it right now, and that's because I'm filming here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals, and they are absolutely awesome. They let me know that this bike was ready to go, and I came in and filmed right away, but it's ready to go for me. It's not quite ready to go for you. They do have bags on this 2024 edition, and I have reviewed this bike before, but we're gonna now put it in the context of 2024. I've also owned this bike in the past, and I'm a huge fan of it. And what we're gonna do in this video is we're gonna go through it bit by bit, detail by detail, to help you know exactly what you're getting, to answer as many questions as we can. But if I don't answer the questions that you want, make sure you subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments below, because I'm filming here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals. This is the #1 volume Kawasaki dealer in the country, and they have pretty much everything you can have, everything you could want for Kawasaki, but they give me complete access to their entire vehicle lineup. So if I don't have the answer in this video that you want, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll continue to make more videos. We'll be able to come back to this bike again and again and again until we make a full video database of all the information that you want. Let's get going with this review. So when you talk about the Versys 650, not only is it a bike that I own, but it's a bike that a lot of people really like and really respect, and it's kind of unchanged for a while now. I had a 2016 model. Around 2021, they updated the dash, the fairing, a couple minor things, but a lot of this is virtually the same as before. And in 2024, we're gonna take a look at what needs to maybe be updated now, but what also should not be touched. And a lot of this bike should not be touched. It really is a great value. So what it is an adventure style bike, but not an off-road bike at all. It is a sport touring bike, on-road only. That's the way it's set up. Now some people will put tires on there and protection down there, and you can sure make it an off-road bike, but it's not really built for that. It's built to be a great on-road bike, and there are really some key components that make it great on the road. But some of the basic design stuff is here. You've got a bike that is very agile for what it is. It's a 650 Kawasaki engine, and that's that twin cylinder parallel twin engine that is really kind of the perfect power for a street bike. At least that's how I've described it in the past. It gives you a lot of fun, a lot of power, but it's not going to be overpowered. It's friendly enough that a new rider could ride it, but it's also going to give you that excitement that you're looking for, and is also going to put it in an insurance class that most people can afford. And that's kind of what makes this bike special, is the 650 sport touring market is not really a real big class. So what you end up here is a really good value bike that you can do any kind of riding. Weekend riding, going to work, going to school, stick your stuff in here just for your casual commute, stick your stuff in here and drive across the country. It's really got a lot, but there's also a couple things missing. So what we're gonna do is go through from the start, right from the front, right to the back, come to the controls. We're gonna talk about what's here and what's missing in 2024. Let's start with the front wheel. So when you take a look at the front wheel of any motorcycle, you can really start to figure out the manufacturer's intent, and you can see some different things here. This is a slight step up from every other 650 bike in Kawasaki's lineup. And that's saying a lot, because there's the Ninja lineup, the Z lineup, the Retro Z lineup. There's also, there's just all kinds of bikes in that class. And then there's this Versys, and the Versys is the only one that's gonna give you those upside down forks, which is again, a bit more of a high-end component. So that does a few things for you. First of all, it's gonna give you less unsprung weight. That's gonna contribute to handling. It's also gonna give you more stiffness up top. So that's also a nice thing to have. And the other thing it does for you, it's the only bike in Kawasaki's 650 lineup that gives you adjustable suspension. So that allows you to dial in the ride. In my experience, it's a little bit soft off the get-go, and what that means is it's gonna give you that nice, comfortable ride, but you can dial up the sport in this a long ways. There's all kinds of videos online of people going on racetracks with these kind of things, so you can definitely hang with the Ninja crowd if you're a skilled rider. But what you have here is something that's gonna give you that soft, comfortable suspension that you can dial that sport into as you need to. The other thing you have is ABS brakes here, and then you have the dual discs, and you have the pedal style disc, which Kawasaki is moving away from a little bit. They used to say it was to help dissipate heat. Reality is it's probably just a style thing, but heavily drilled rotors, ABS out front here. So a nice set of front wheel, nice set of brakes, nice set of everything here on the front wheel, great suspension. Now let's move back to the engine. So taking a look at the heart of this bike, this 650 Kawasaki engine, like I said, they use this in just about everything. Now there is some argument that they say they kind of tweak this from the Ninja to various other bikes like Vulcan, the Cruiser, all the other bikes. The reality is it's very mildly tweaked. It makes just around 70 horsepower, just a hair under 70 horsepower. And a lot of that tweak is probably just the exhaust routing in here to give you more mid-range versus high-end, but very, very similar power numbers across the 650 lineup. One signature of this engine is that your catalytic converter's down here, and there's just a a little shorty pipe down there. It doesn't come up, it doesn't block the rear end, so we're gonna take a look at that in a second. But one of the things they do here on the Versys is, because it is down here, it really allows you to have full-size bags on this, so full-size panniers on this, and that really gives you a lot more storage capacity, as well as keeps everything tucked out of the way. The other nice benefit of having everything end down here is it keeps that center of gravity low. So when you start moving that stuff up, your center of gravity moves up with it. And again, this is a very balanced bike, very easy to ride bike with this engine. Now, it is a little bit taller than some of the other 650s, so we're going to show you what it looks like with me sitting on that bike right now. And there's a few other things I want to show you as we look up from here. So when we talk about a taller seat height, there's a few advantages you get here. Yes, it is taller, but it also gives you a fairly level rear seat. So it's really probably one of the best 650s in the Kawasaki lineup for a rear seat passenger. The other one that I would consider, if you don't want quite as tall a bike, is the Retro, the RS, Z650 RS, which has a little bit lower seat, a little flatter seat, but also a decent passenger seat. But basically, you've got a very good set of seats here. This one, of course, does drop down, and it's quite narrow in the middle. And again, although it is a little bit taller, I'm about 6 feet tall, and I can just about flat foot on this. So it's really not that tall. I'm about a proportional 6 foot. I gotta measure my inseam one day. But what you have here is a bike that is a very square upright position. We're going to show you the windshield in a second. It is height adjustable quite easily. But overall, you have a bike that is set up for touring, but is still in a very sporty kind of riding position. So your bars aren't crazy wide like the KLR, but they're wider than something like a Ninja, like a Z650. So you're in this position here where it's very comfortable for long trips, but also very sporty feeling. The other thing you have is a 21-liter fuel tank up top. So that is a very large fuel tank on a fairly efficient bike, and that allows you to go a long ways, which again sets this bike up to be a perfect long distance tour as an option, but it's also a great around town bike because it's nimble. It's very lightweight left to right when you're flicking it around here. And the other thing you'll notice is when you're driving the bike, all of the weight goes away as well. Because of these handlebars, the positioning, you can really kind of angle the bike left to right. You can flick it back and forth. So it makes it very playful and very fun. And that's the kind of interesting thing about the Versys lineup. The Versys X300 is more of a on-road, off-road kind of mini adventure bike. This one has no adventure qualities at all. It's a sport touring bike, and then when you move up to the Versys 1000, you end up with far more of a touring bike where it loses some of the playfulness that you get just from the inherent lightness of this bike. So let's kind of bring you around. We're going to show you the dash. Actually, let's show you the front end first. We're going to show you the windscreen here. We'll move around to the back end where the bags attach. I don't have them on this bike, but we do have a Versys 1000, which has identical bags. We'll show you them, and then we'll move around to the controls. So taking a look at the front end of this bike, again, it was updated around 2021 or so. You have the same look here. Different paint scheme here. I will say the paint scheme is really nice with sort of a darker gray, kind of a matte gray finish almost with this gloss black, red striping. Really looks sharp. Little bit of a beak in here. One thing that's upgraded if you're looking at the older models of 2016 like I had, you used to have the halogen headlight here and then your high beam there, or the other way around. Now you have headlights that are both LED, and actually they won't turn fully on, but they'll sort of see the daytime light. But they are both LED lights, and they are both bright white lights. So again, this isn't the full headlight, it's just the LED. If I had to get the headlights going, I have to start the engine on the bike. But you do have both headlights lit as low beams when you're driving, which is nice to have. The other thing you have is this adjustable screen. Now I'll show you when we get to the dash how you adjust it, but I can show you right now easily. You can bring it up a long ways. So again, bringing it up quite a ways from where it was, and you can drop it on the fly. So you can do that basically while you're driving. I mean, you should stop because it's a two-handed affair, but it's very, very easy to do. Still let some venting come through the bottom here, so you have that pressure gap behind you being taken care of by allowing some venting in behind here, and that makes it a very comfortable bike to ride, whether you need a little bit more air in town on a hotter ride or on a hotter day, or if you need a little bit more extra protection, you can have that as well by raising that up. So we're working our way to the back of the bike. We talked about the passenger accommodations here. One other thing that's worth noting is you have the suspension over here, sort of off to the right side of the bike. You don't really see it from the left side of the bike, but you also have this preload adjuster, which means as you load this bike up with gear, as you load up with a passenger, you can remotely adjust that preload really quickly to allow that bike to sit where you need it to sit to have your proper suspension travel, have your proper suspension feel while you've got a passenger on there. So you do have that preload adjustment there. Again, it's the only 650 bike in the Kawasaki lineup with that option. So you have a number of touring features here. Now we're going to take a look at this back seat here. 650 is labeled right up here. It's just hidden from your view. Good handles here, good seat here. So you can tie stuff down here as it is. You can add on a rear rack if you needed to, but right now you can see that there is this little spot in here. There's still some tie downs down here, tie downs over there, so you can tie things down across the seat with a cargo net or something like that if you wanted, but the bags are a real big piece. And again, they're not optional, they are standard on this bike. So let's show you how they work by taking a look at the Versys 1000 right now. So here we are on the Versys 1000. Of course, this bike is red in color, and the bike that we're looking at, they will be black here and black here. The reason I'm not showing them to you today is because this panel has not been installed on the bags on the one that I'm looking at. And again, that's just because Wheels and Deals is awesome. They let me get that bike as soon as it's available. Sorry about that, kick the tripod there. So what you do is you have a key locked to your ignition key. When it's locked, there's nothing you can do to open it. When it's unlocked, you can pop this open and it drops down like that. And then what you have is a nice little netted area right here, which can fit everything you need in here, including a full-size, full-face helmet. 28-liter saddlebags on each side. And again, full-face helmets fitting even on the exhaust side. Now, that's kind of rare in the sport touring segment. Both the Versys 1000 and Versys 650 route that exhaust out of the way, not up high. So you have the full depth here for these bags. And then the other benefit is you put this on, and while you have it unlocked, you pull this lever up right there. Let me just make sure you can see that. Yeah, so you pull this lever up there like that, give this a bang, it slides off, comes off really easily, so you can take them in with you. The nice thing about hard bags is as long as you have your key with you, because if the key comes out, as long as your key's with you, you know that they are both locked to the bike and locked themselves. So you need to have the key in there to have them unlocked. You don't have to wonder, did I lock the saddlebags or not? If your key is with you, they're locked. So before we take a look at the dash, let's just show you how you adjust that windshield. You can see right here where my finger's pressing. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit there. There's your suspension adjustment. We'll get to that in a second, but right there, we'll get both of them here. So right down here, you're looking at your the right side fork tube with one of your suspension adjustments, but right up here, you're looking at the little press. Now again, the steering is turned towards you, so it makes it a little bit awkward to reach right now, but you press that button and then you can lift and lower the screen like that. Very simple to do to adjust your screen. So it's a kind of a hidden button. A lot of people don't even know it exists because it doesn't even look like a button, but that's where you adjust your screen. So we talked about the adjustable suspension there. Kawasaki labels these a little different. They are Showa shocks, so tension, hard and soft, H and S, and then this one is preload, H and L, high and low for preload. So that's your tension over there, compression rebound. And then over on this shock, a little different adjustment there, and you can see Showa shocks there for your preload as well. So preload and compression rebound damping, all available on the front fork, which again, really stands out in this 650 class, even within the 650 class of bikes within Kawasaki. Now let's take a little further view out of the dash and show you a couple other features. All right, a little bit of a busy shot here, but we're gonna sort of show you what you can do with this bike. So down here, this is sort of a preset in for a USB port connection. Again, being more of a touring bike, you may want to set up a USB port for something like your phone, something like that. You've got your digital dash in here. If you want to mount a GPS, there are ways to mount GPSs up to this rail up here, so you don't have to mount it on your handlebars if you don't want to. You can mount it up on the rail behind the windshield. And then over here on this far side, 12-volt rough-in and a driving light or fog light rough-in as well. So the switch would go right over here, 12-volt port there, and the USB port there. So no matter what you want to do to sort of set this up, everyone has a Kawasaki accessory ready to plug in here, already roughed in, good to go. And that goes in addition to your digital dash. We're going to get to the digital dash in a second, but I want to show you the clutch lever first, and then move through some of the controls, and then we'll go to the dash. So you're at the front of the bike looking back at the clutch lever. You can sort of see how that is here. Now, one thing that's kind of nice is this has fully adjustable levers here. So if you see on level 5 right there, the clutch lever comes around my second knuckle there, and we're going to put it on 1. There's a 5 adjustment, and now it's at the first knuckle there. So you have quite a bit of adjustment, 5 different settings between those 2 points that allow you to have your clutch lever where you want it. So I like to have it sort of in the middle there to be where I want it. Now, the one thing that this bike kind of misses on is a number of, in fact, I think almost all, maybe not the Vulcan S, but most of the 650 bikes in the Kawasaki lineup have received a slipper and assist clutch. This one does not. That makes the clutch lever just a touch heavier than some of the other bikes in this class. Not really an issue, but it is a little heavier. And then the other thing it does is it's a safety issue. So we'll talk about that in just one second as well. But you do have that 5-position adjustment on both the clutch lever and the brake lever. The other thing that's missing from this, one little miss, is they used to put the full handguard protection up here on the LT model. That is now an accessory on here. Not everybody wants it, but it's a nice thing to have if you do a lot of touring, just a little bit of hand protection up there. So the reason that I'd like to see the slipper and assist clutch on this bike is in part because it's on the Ninja 650, it's on the Z650, and like I said, it does give you a lighter clutch pull, but the other thing it does is I've driven this bike aggressively with cold tires, and when you dump that clutch with a slipper and assist clutch, without a slipper assist clutch, it can skip the rear wheel. It can skid that rear wheel, and I've done that just a little bit. It was not scary. It did not throw me off in any way, but a slipper assist clutch would allow you to be a little bit more aggressive, dump that clutch, and it would allow the clutch to slip instead of allowing the wheel to slip. So it's a nice safety feature to have, but it's really also a performance feature, but it also would give you a little lighter clutch pull. Again, this is not a heavy clutch pull. It doesn't need it in any way, but you can feel a slight difference between this and the Ninja 650, and it would be nice to have because it's in the technology that could be on this bike, but it's not. Let's take a look at the dash. So the dash is a full color TFT display. You're going to see some glare here, but I'm going to kind of make it go away. Now I will say that these screens never film perfectly. This is a crystal clear display, but sometimes the camera has a little bit of trouble focusing on them. So what you have here is a very nice tack, very easy to tell where you are on the rev range, 10,000 RPM rev range. This bike does have traction control, 2 levels of traction control and off. You have a gear indicator over on the left hand side here. So of course you're in neutral right now, which also has the neutral light. I believe that's required by law, but you got a 6-speed transmission here. Odometer, fuel efficiency type numbers down the bottom there, and then on the far right side is a clock. That's always visible to you. You can change this from a white, everything that's black can be white and white can be black, so you can invert it from daylight to night, day to night. I just like it in the black here. I feel like it looks good with the bike and it just looks better overall. Very legible, whichever one you want to do. So again, that's a big thing. The other thing it allows you to do is connect to the Kawasaki Rideology app, which just gives you a few little tweaks, a few little extras. There's various levels of connectivity to that Rideology app. This one is the more basic level, but it still does give you some app connectivity, which is kind of nice to have. Taking a look at the controls here, very simple controls. Out front, you can't see it on your screen, but you do have a little trigger here just to trigger your high beam. Sometimes they have a trigger where you can push away to turn it on. This one does not have that because it has high beams here, low beams there, signals right there, horn and 4-way flashers, which is nice to have, especially on a touring bike, or hazard lights if you want to call them that. This is the selection tool here you can use to change your traction control. You can use to change your screens and some of the display settings in the screen. So very easy to use, very simple controls, but again, very effective. So we're going to wrap up by talking about who this bike is for, and in 2024, I'm going to talk about the misses on this bike, the 2 or 3 things that I think the Kawasaki needs to do next to keep this bike relevant moving forward. Because like I said, there hasn't been a lot that's changed, and to be honest, I don't think they should change very much. I think it's a great value. I think it's really nice to have a good sport touring bike in this 650 class. But in 2024, I think there's a couple things they could do to make it better. This bike, again, the slipper and assist clutch would be nice to have just because it's within the lineup. The next step I think they need to do with this bike is cruise control, which is unheard of on a 650 class, but it'd be cool to have on this because it would kind of complete the package, and a quick shifter. You're seeing quick shifters slip into this class, and it's not available on this bike. It is available on the Versys 1000. So to me, those 2 components, a quick shifter and cruise control, would probably be enough to keep this bike going another decade or beyond. You've got traction control that's been added, you got the TFT display, you've upgraded all the lighting to LED lights, you still retained all the things that work great, the engine that works great, the seating comfort, the bags and everything else. So within this class, this is a tremendous value as is, but you'd have to move up in any other class to get things like cruise control and then maybe the quick shifter or something like that. So you're still in that really unique spot, but I think people are coming for this bike now. You're seeing more and more competitors out there doing different things, sometimes still in a little bit larger engine size, which I don't think you need on this. So let's talk about who this bike is for. This bike is for the person who wants one bike to do everything, but still wants something sporty. So when I say everything, I mean everything on road. Although it looks like an adventure bike, it is not. And if you are the kind of rider that is drawn to some of the adventure bikes out there simply because they have an upright seating position, they have good wind protection, they're comfortable, and you can ride them all day, this is a bike you should consider, especially if you're not really going off-road that much. When I owned this bike, I never really needed to go off-road. The odd, gravel road, dirt road, you could skip across if you had to. But the reality was 99.9% of my driving was on pavement. And what that means with this bike over an adventure bike is all of that driving, all that 99.9% of your driving is way more fun because you've got this adjustable suspension, you've got the proper sport tires, you can really lean over in turns, aggressively go into corners, good braking, you've got the tires and suspension that really are set up for most of your driving if you're an on-road driver. And that to me makes this special. To me, I would buy this over the Ninja 650 as well, because unless you're taking your Ninja 650 to the track, for country road riding, this is going to give you the same experience in a more comfortable package. So who's the Versys for? Somebody who wants something really versatile that you can take your luggage with, you can take a passenger with, and keep going. Now, I've described this in the past as the perfect single person, single rider touring machine because, again, you can do your around town driving, but you can tour with one person. The reason I don't recommend touring with two people on this is not that you can't, you absolutely can, but the special piece of this bike is that it's very playful by character. Once you stick a second person on here, you can adjust the preload and that kind of thing, but you do lose some playfulness, and at that point, you're kind of losing part of the fun of this. So can you tour with two people? Absolutely. Should you? Would you? That's really up to you. For me, it is absolutely perfect bike for that single rider to do their tours, to their around town riding, and everything else. So there's your review of the 2024 Kawasaki Versys 650 LT. And again, I want to thank Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals for giving me complete access to their vehicle lineup. If you want to see this bike, you can connect with them. They can hook you up with one and take you from there. All the 2024 Kawasaki's are starting to pour in, so make sure you subscribe to this channel and swing by Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals. It's snowing outside. We just had a snowstorm, but this place, everywhere I look, is loaded with motorcycles. 2023 still, and a lot of 2024s that are coming in. So stay tuned. We'll have more as early as this week.